Halloween will be here before you know it. And this year, the holiday will be a little spookier and scarier thanks to Mother Nature, a full moon. Chances are your kids are really looking forward to trick-or-treating. And if you just keep a few things in mind, you can make sure your Halloween is the good kind of creepy. Brent Dierking is here from NorthStar EMS to tell us more. Brent, it's good to see you again.
It's good to see you, Danny. Thanks.
Yes, sir. And you have brought us all kinds of stuff. Let's go ahead and talk about trick-or-treating on Halloween. I don't want to freak people out because they always hear stuff every year, you know. You don't know who's going to answer the door and this, that, and the other, and somebody may be playing Dungeons and Dragons. There's just no telling what could happen. But seriously, what are the real risks when we go out trick-or-treating?
Well, you know, from an emergency medical services perspective, we're really concerned about keeping our kids safe while they're out trick-or-treating. And there's some good common sense things that people just need to kind of keep in mind. And I brought some props to help us out to kind of walk through a couple of those things. But, you know, we start with the traditional pumpkin and the carving knife, if you'll pick it up there. And, you know, sometimes if you're not careful, that knife can slip as you're trying to put a face carving into the pumpkin, and you know, you're at risk of injury that way. So, you know, just be careful as you're doing that.
Don't hold it like this.
That's that's correct.
Gotcha.
And you know, speaking of pumpkins, you know, the candles in the pumpkins, you know, you need to be careful that you don't leave candle-lit pumpkins unattended because of fear that something could happen, or that candle is protected within the pumpkin, because a lot of times our trick-or-treaters come up to the doors, they may have floppy costumes that could swoop over that candle and potentially light, so we need to be careful about that.
Well, and kids being kids, too, they'll take your jack-o'-lantern and do all sorts of things to it.
Yeah, they like to look at the face. And then from a trick-or-treater perspective, just a couple things to keep in mind. You know, there's many costumes out there for kids, and it's important that, you know, with the mask, you keep in mind one of the biggest potential hazards we have is pedestrian accidents. And when kids are in the mask, you know, it really limits your visibility out there. So you got to be much more careful when you're crossing those streets and watching out for cars. And then for the drivers of the vehicles, you know, it's nice to have kids that are in reflective type clothing or costumes. And a lot of times on the labels it'll say that it's reflective. Or you can give the kids glow sticks or flashlights that would help illuminate them to the driver of the vehicles out there. Pedestrian incidents are by far the #1 situation we see in emergency medical services. So we want to be very careful. And you can pick these up, the glow sticks, flashlights, certainly at a reasonable cost, just to keep your kids safe. And lastly, you know, I would like to say when it comes to candy, you know, there's always fears that there could be tainted candy out there and things of that nature. Yeah, and this is, I assure you. But, you know, just from a good common sense perspective, you know, don't let your kids just dip into the candy baskets initially. You know, it is important to go home and to check and make sure that the candy is commercially wrapped, and that way you feel much better about having your kids ingest that. And I said that was finally, but I guess there's one other point. You know, adults like to have fun too on Halloween. And we talk about drinking and driving a lot during the holiday season, but, you know, just watch yourselves and be cognizant of the amount of alcohol you intake, because there's a lot of kids out there on the streets, and the last thing we want to have is something develop that ruins the holiday for everybody.
Absolutely. We want everybody to have some good, clean fun. And really quickly, we took your tips and we slapped them on some graphics really fast. And I did I did these myself, so I want to make sure the folks at home get to see them. And there are the tips. And like you said, this is all just really common sense stuff. If you're out in the car, you're looking out for the kids and the trick-or-treaters. And if you're out trick-or-treating, you're looking out for cars. The bright, colorful, flame-retardant costumes, you mentioned those. And even though Darth Vader isn't bright or colorful, this one is reflective, so that one works.
That's right.
Adults go out with the young kids, the little ones like elementary school, probably and younger. And then, you know, the older kids, they need to go out in groups, right?
That's right.
All right, we've got some more too. Check all the candy. You touched on that. I will be checking this candy thoroughly if you are silly enough to leave it behind. And being careful with your pumpkin carving too.
That's right. And if you do that, then it'll be a successful holiday for the kids and for yourself. And we just hope everybody has a good time.
All right, super. Brent, thanks for being with us, buddy. You can find out more about NorthStar EMS by calling 205-345-0911 or online at northstar-ems.com.